Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and this, as always, is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video this week. It's a sad one. We all know what I'm going to talk about. Originally, I was going to do this week High and Low, which is an Akira Toriyama thriller for reasons, and we'll talk about that movie next week. It's a good movie, and it's worth talking about. But unfortunately, the sad thing we're going to talk about here for a little bit is, of course, Akira Toriyama. And his passing. He just passed away, age 68, due to bleeding in the brain. I don't know the technical term, but I think that's what it was. And taken away way too soon. I was kind of wondering how I wanted to do this video, and I think I'm just going to talk a little bit and then call it a day for this sad occasion. We're familiar with his works. He came to fame with Dr. Slump, which is an adorable manga, very good anime. Who knew that he was going to come up with Dragon Ball years and years later? But he did, and with that manga, and it just shot right off. And people loved it, and he continued making manga to make, as he to quote him, to make the Japanese boys happy. He actually didn't really at first like doing manga, drawing manga for some reason, but then he realized that it was a wonderful job. This is kind of his saying. So it's kind of unique that a person who did very well with manga in Japan didn't like it at first, but sometimes that happens. You get into a job and it grows on you after a while, and you find that you're good at it, and you find that you have contentment with being good at something, and then you turn to love your job as a result. I know that feeling. I've had that a couple times. It's a nice feeling. And of course, he goes on to make Dragon Ball, Son Goku as a young boy. And like I said, that manga just shot off. And then, of course, it turned to Dragon Ball Z. And this is where things get really cool for Western audiences. We get the Dragon Ball Z anime. Well, we did get the Dragon Ball anime, but it's the Dragon Ball Z one that really, got a lot of us involved. I remember watching it for the first time on, I think it was Adult Swim. Adult Swim or Toonami. I forget which one it was, which iteration it was at that point. But I caught it right at the beginning of when Raditz comes to Earth, right? His brother comes to Earth, and Son Goku's brother. And then I kind of got hooked into it, just like everybody else, because it was good storytelling. And it was of course, it's, based on a famous Chinese myth, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment. But it was just a lot of fun, and it dragged me in. And I had always been a fan of anime. I've been a fan of anime since before I even understood what the word anime was. I was like 5 years old when I was watching Speed Racer and Aqua Boy and all that stuff. But it was clearly in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when Dragon Ball Z came in, that was kind of ushering in a new wave of interest into anime in the West, and it really opened up. I mean, a lot of people who really didn't really understand anime, didn't care about anime, kind of watched this thing and said, "Ooh, I kind of like this," and it just took off here, and as a result, it's a gateway anime, right? You watch this and you go, are other things like this? And that's when you start to learn, okay, this is what's called a shonen anime. So this is really my first really favorite shonen anime, I have to say. So it was, just like everybody else, I got swept up with it and, watching it. And, I enjoyed the jokes that were made at conventions at Dragon Ball Z's expense about, how we have like 5 episodes, doing the spirit bomb, doing all that stuff in the comic, all that, just like how one fight can go on for like 5 episodes and whatnot. But still, we watched it, right? We watched it. We were interested. It was fun. It was interesting to watch. And it did something for me. And what that thing did for me was that, I looked into what Toriyama, who he was and what he did. And that's when, of course, I discovered the other stuff, like Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball. And, I wasn't really getting Dragon Ball anime at that moment. I was very interested in the character Son Goku, and I thought it was kind of neat that there was this whole other thing that, prequeled this, basically. And I kind of wanted to check it out. And, but it wasn't really easy to find the anime. So, I think it was at an Otaku, right? And actually, no, it wasn't at Otaku. It was at the library, right? So my local library, Free Library, where I actually worked at for a couple years. Support your local libraries. Libraries are awesome. And I think I bought, every year in the first week of December, they have a weekend where they, get rid of books, old books, and they sell them for dirt cheap, like paperbacks for like 50 cents and hardbacks for $1 and, things like that. And so, of course, I, go to the manga bin, and I'm kind of looking through things, and, I'm not a big manga reader at all at this point. I've checked out a couple, like Ghost in the Shell, that kind of thing, but really not so much. Akira actually was the big only manga, I think, that I was reading at the time. And so I found like volumes 6, 7, 9, 12, something. You know how it works. You don't get the full series, and you get, bits and pieces. And I pulled out Dragon Ball, and it was, Son Goku. And I grabbed them because they were 50 cents a piece. So I spent like maybe $3 on a whole bunch of Dragon Ball manga. Took them home, read them, thoroughly enjoyed the manga. Like thoroughly, like I looked at it was as if I was back in my comic book collecting days. That was my previous fandom before really getting into anime, was comic book collecting. So, I would pore over panels and stuff, right? Well, I found myself doing the same thing with Dragon Ball. And then I realized that actually I do like manga. So that helped me on my journey of reading other manga and Tezuka. Getting into Tezuka and reading Buddha and the Phoenix sagas. And and I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't come across Dragon Ball. And again, I just love the storytelling. I just loved the concepts of the Red Ribbon Army in this world where it's just like, oh yeah, dude's a ninja fox. Sure. Nobody thinks twice about that. That's just part of the world, right? And come to find out later that, he's a big Toriyama was a big animal lover, so that kind of makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a special place. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm going to have a special place in my heart for Toriyama because he did a lot for me. Helped me to reinvigorate watching anime again. Diving headfirst into manga and really enjoying manga and understanding it better and enjoying it for what it is, for the medium that it is. And so it was sad for me as I was at work on my break and kind of scrolling through my phone, and CNN actually had it and said a creator of Dragon Ball dies and Dragon Ball Z dies. And I was like, what? And, of course, read it. I was just like, great, another one. I kind of felt this way a little bit with Satoshi Kon when he passed. But this one hits a little bit more because while I love Satoshi Kon, I mean, I'm always going to love his stuff. This is more, it's kind of hard to describe it, but it's just more of a, hi, here's a happy thing for you to have. And that's what Toriyama gave us. Satoshi Kon gave us art and thought and ideas and things like that. So when his passing went, everyone's going to miss that intellectualism. But Toriyama gave us this, here's some shonen, and you're going to love it, I hope. And it's fun, and it's interesting, and really neato characters. And if you never read manga before, maybe this might interest you. It did for me. And I think that was a really, really lovely gift to give to the world. So, yes, we're sad that Toriyama is gone. It appears that, of course, like so many artists, there are some projects that have not seen the light of day just yet, and maybe they just need some polishing up, and hopefully the Toriyama estate and Shishua will allow those things to happen. We know we have Sandland coming up, I think. That was kind of an interesting trailer. I watched that a couple years ago. Video games, he was part of the video games, character designs and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things we think that appears to be out there that will probably be leaked out over the next couple, 2-3 years. But still, it's just, yeah, it kind of sucks. So those are just, my little thoughts on Akira Toriyama. If you have any little thoughts, what things that he did for you that you thought was kind of neat, or what your experiences was, please put them down below. Keep it clean. No trolling, please. And yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Sad little one, but I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on it. So yeah, so that's it. Next week, I will be talking about High and Low, the Akira Kurosawa thriller movie about a mistaken identity kidnapping and corporate greed. Fun movie. So I'll talk about that next week. But in the meantime, guys, be good, stay healthy, love ya. Watch more anime. There's going to be a link to the CyTube down below. I'm going to put a couple Dragonball Z movies over on my CyTube channel. So if you want to watch them, click the link down below. All right, guys, you be good. Love you. See you next time.